Hello, everyone, and welcome to this wonderful new episode at Christine Means Business, your podcast, where we help entrepreneurs, creators, and coaches who want to build and grow a business online, or for anyone who just wants to learn something new, be surprised, have an open mind. And so today I have a wonderful guest, because you know that I love to have people on here who have a zone of genius that I might not have, or that's complementary, so that we can learn even more. And today I have Vivian de Guzman. She is the #1 money magnet activator, something I absolutely love. So I'm really, really intrigued and interested as to what she's going to do today, because it sounds really exciting. She's a human MRI. I mean, that even more intriguing. 5 times international best-selling author, a speaker, a holistic physical therapist, medical and business intuitive and accelerated success coach. So lots of words there that we probably wouldn't have combined intuitively. So I'm really interested in how that is happening. She sees the anatomy and energy field in 5 dimensions. So the past, the present, the future, beyond this planet, and time-space dimension reality. Clears invisible obstacles beyond this, leading to accelerated success in money, health, and relationships. She repairs energetic boundaries, physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual trauma, so that you can say yes or no with ease and grace. And she also provides business insight and guided intelligence to mitigate risk for businesses. So Vivian, I'm so curious, excited to learn from you, because as I just said, I'm intrigued by a bio, because we have this very, scientific, even kind of like medical language. And then we have this beautiful kind of more spiritual world drawn into it, although I am very much a fan of quantum physics. One of my favorite authors is Dr. Joe Dispenza. So this is completely up my alley. So I get it. But maybe you could talk us to how this beautiful marriage kind of got to happen, and what it is that you do now. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, right? So a lot of people have histories, and I guess I'm included there. So I was a physical therapist by trade when I graduated, right, from my degree. And so I practiced, and I loved the science and the medicine. And I noticed that it didn't quite answer everything, right? Mm-hmm. So I was specializing in cancer, lymphedema, any type of difficult cases. I went even from pediatrics all the way to elderly. And I said to myself, I wonder why people get sick. So that's how the human MRI was born, because I realized that I could see the anatomy, the inside of the body in 3D at that time. So first it was black and white, and then it became colored. But then here comes ATIA. I had a warning sign for a stroke. Like I woke up one day, right side of my body was numb, and I was dizzy, kind of cross-eyed, and I had to go to the bathroom. And I said, whoa, I think something like an emergency is happening to me, which it was. And when I called my friend, I said, so what happens when you go to ER? And she said, well, they're going to observe you. And I'm thinking, observe me? I'll be dead, or this, whatever this is, this disease at that time has progressed. And so I had to make a decision, right? So that was an emergency. And I realized that that's actually part of my spiritual awakening, right? But anyway, long story short, within 3 weeks, I recovered fully, right?
Okay.
And that's kind of not normal, right? That's not normal in the medical community. So then I said, there must be something to life than just what we know of. So that's when it evolved from being a medical intuitive, because obviously I was able to see the whole body, because I had to take a look at me, right? What was happening to me, and what can I do to change this? So I realized that there are 4 stages in spiritual journey. First is awakening, because we got to wake up somehow. And usually it's in a form of some emergency that it's like God's telling you, hey, wake up, because that thing that you're doing is not working. So you got to change, right? And then we go into discovery. That's the second phase, because you got to discover, like, okay, this is my life before. How can I change it to however I want to make it as, right? That's discovery. Then we go to surrender, because the things that we're used to doing, it doesn't work anymore.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
like, well, I guess that doesn't work. I got to change that. That's the surrender before we even get to flow. So those
Yeah.
are the 4 stages of our everybody's spiritual journey. And by the way, it's not just a one-time journey.
Oh,
You know that, right?
I hear you. And it's so interesting because, and I'm going to be very blunt, a lot of people are like, oh, there we go, like spiritual woo-woo. And here's
Yeah.
the thing. A lot of us have no idea of this world, you know, and when I started my business, I definitely didn't. And I started with all the marketing stuff, with all the tech stuff. And suddenly I heard this word mindset and mindset and mindset over and over again. That was like 6 years ago. At the moment, you will probably hear the word flow, alignment a lot. You will probably hear the word soul work. You can hear of light workers. And in the beginning, you just diss it. Like you literally don't take it seriously, because how is that going to help my bottom line? You know, it's like, this has nothing to do with like hardcore economics. And as you do things, and you pointed out correctly, you do things and it just doesn't quite work. You kind of feel that you have to dip into that. And I love the first book that I read was by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And I loved it because it was built in quantum physics. It was very much anchored in scientific research that we're having at the moment. And even the Big Bang Theory and Sheldon, what he studied, made more sense after I read the book. And so that for me was like a way that my mind could cope with this new kind of world awakening, as you say, you know. And then the more you go into it, the more you realize, okay, this thing is happening, and the more you let it happen and realize you shouldn't struggle, and you start to surrender, the more things do turn into place, and you change. You just change, and it's what I tell everyone: once you start this journey, you will change, and that's not always easy, because not everyone around you will change with you, and you will not stop. It will continue, and it will start again and again. So I get it when you say,
I think that's the reason why they don't want to go into that spirituality, because they don't want to keep on discovering, but that's where the growth and the expansion lies.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Absolutely. And so I love it because you tapped into a very specific area where you work with all the knowledge that you have gathered, with your intuition that has obviously proven to be extremely sharp in that area, because not everyone has that. You know, we all have our gifts. And you decided to focus on the financials, helping other people with money magnetism and becoming even a money magnet activator. So walk me through that, because doing physical therapy, which is more, I would say, helping out of the compassion, wanting to help people, to then becoming a money magnet activator. How did that happen?
How did that happen? Of course, still through the journey of being a physical therapist, I would get clients, right? And some of them are high profile people, business people, and some are doctors. And then, you know how in the beginning, I had this, well, that's normal, right? Self-doubt, almost like a fear of being rejected, because I was just a physical therapist. And here I am looking at their whole anatomy, explaining it to them in their own language, in the scientific and medical background of, well, if your liver's not working, then you tend to be really frustrated and angry all the time, or upset. And then that can go into your head, right? Like it almost like it makes you blow up. So then you push the energy away. Well, that includes money, because I found out that money is not just in the physical plane, like everybody talks about money physically,
Yes,
like in the physical earth chakras, but money is in the physical plane, it's in the emotional plane, it's in the relationships that we have, and also it's in the spiritual plane. And then you're gonna go, well, we all know physical, right? Because it's tangible. When there's a physical exchange, that's the tangibility of that. but that means survival, and you have to have health. Like you got to be healthy in order to make money. Otherwise, it doesn't quite work, right? Emotionally, we get triggered if, let's say, one person said something we don't quite agree with, or it's just a difference in opinion, right? Relationship. Well, if you don't have a good relationship with money, or you just push it away, or, oh, no, 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 I really don't like that. Well, that means you're not quite welcoming it. And spiritually, like you said, when they hear flow, when they hear alignment, spiritual alignment, what is that woo-woo stuff, right? It's kind of like in another world. Well, unfortunately,
Yeah.
money is also in the spiritual plane. Like, think about the churches, they ask for contribution. Well, you can't just like print paper and that's money. No, there's a value to your presence there, what you exchange, what you contribute. That money is everywhere. So we can't deny it. Now, some people have triggers with that word, and they would say, well, can you just say wealth? So whatever it is that rocks your boat, go for it, right?
Yeah.
But it's in all of those different boundaries and planes. That's the reality of having it. So then when the doctors came and other famous people came, and I realized after I worked with them physically, I was just a physical therapist back then, right? When they go check out at the counter to pay the receptionist, right? They notice, cha-ching, like something comes through. And I noticed that too. I said, wait a minute, how come I was just treating them, they're feeling good, and then suddenly they're receiving money? So that was my first revelation of that.
Ah, interesting.
Yes. And the second one was, I noticed this, you know how you are is usually whatever you are, you attract that into
Yeah.
people. Right? It's very fascinating, that concept. So when you don't value your services, your time, your worth, your clients will reflect that. You're going to get clients that are complaining about how much you charge and
Yeah,
what
even
they're
if it's,
getting out of it. Yeah.
that's what I'm always saying. If you don't charge enough, you get the worst clients. The more you charge, the better your clients will be. It's a phenomenon. It's just the way it is.
It's amazing, right? It's so that was my second aha. So then I would get this nudge inside. It's kind of like, no, that's not quite enough for you to really run this business, right? Because when you run a business, it's not just yourself. You usually hire some virtual assistant now, right? And then as you get more clients, you need to just focus on your own prosperity key so that you stay in your lane and you're not doing 10 different jobs. Can you imagine when we were in corporate? Well, I was in corporate, right? Somebody collected the copay, somebody processed the paperwork. I didn't do all that, right? I just did the treatment for the client, and that was it. So then when you go into business, you expect that you're going to do it all. Oh my gosh, that is like, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah, no, I agree. I always tell people, a company, they have a department for all of these things. We have to do it all, and we were not taught this. Unless you were an accountant you probably never had to do finances, so it's
I always say, please hire somebody better than you in that department.
Yeah, absolutely. So you realized, okay, I have them in my session, we do their physical therapy, and then when they finish, they receive money every time. How did you realize that what did you do? Like, honestly, like, what did you do? How did you unlock this flow of money towards them?
It was the hard knock school, right? It's kind of like, let me suffer, and then, oh, if I actually don't choose the suffering, it actually flows to me easily. I didn't know that. Okay. So so as I went through my life and my business, well, of course, it's not all smooth, right? You lose something, and then you notice, if you believe in, it's like a switch. It's like just turn on your money switch, kind of like you're turning on your light switch at home. You turn it on, and that's the start of your business day, right? Or you turn it off. So these are like practical applications. So in your mind is very powerful. You just use it for the good. You turn it on when you're working, You can
Yes.
still turn it on when you're off. It's really up to you. So I'm going to explain a little bit about when I learned human design, right? So human design, it's there's so many other teachers with it, but the original version was downloaded to Ra Uru. Okay, he already passed away, but it's basically a combination of astrology, the chakra system, the I Ching, and even the Kabbalah, right? So for those people that are, I think that's Jewish, that is the combination. And now some people will go, no, I don't know about that because it has some weird signs and symbols. And it basically explains to us, here's your personality. Okay, so in the chart, they can all go to humandesignamerica.com or jovianarchive.com. They have a free report. You'll see this man looking with different shapes. And on the right side, this is about you, by the way. It's very personal. So you have to know your birthday, the time of your birth, the place of your birth, and it'll spit out a report. The right side is the personality, meaning that's how people perceive you. That's how people see you, because that's how you show up in the world, right? And on the left side of the chart is actually the design. So if I'm going to cover this just like that. You see it? Oops.
Yeah.
That's how it looks like.
And I did it, and I have to say, at first, it's super overwhelming. You're like, oh my God, 5,000 things in there.
Like, what are these weird symbols? So the design is the unconscious side. That's up to us to discover about ourselves. Because unfortunately, we all have conditioning, right? We all grew up in a family, parents, religion, culture, tradition. We're all different, but similar, right? There's a part of us like that. Now, you could be a generator, a manifesting generator, a manifester, a reflector, or a projector. Now, what I wanted to talk about today is your prosperity key. And that is usually indicated by your personality Jupiter. That is we call it prosperity key or pearl. Because once you know what yours is, you shouldn't compare yourself with others because they're just doing them and you just have to do you, right? So there are 6 lines or 6 numbers. So when you look at your personality Jupiter, for example, this person is 41.3. The first number indicates the gate or the flavor of which you express your personality when it comes to making money, okay? And then the decimal point, the number after the decimal point, that's what we're going to be discussing. So there are 6 ways that you can become yourself, right? Expressing how you make money. The first one, line 1, is simplicity. In other words, for those people that really need to simplify things, but then they overcomplicate things, they're going to lose money when they overcomplicate. And one of my clients, who's a TV producer, I was discussing her human design, and I said, do you realize that when you actually make your life very simple, you make money? And then she's like, yeah, you're right. I just referred a bunch of people to this person. I actually made more money versus this other deal. I had to do this and do that, like too much for her. And she did make money, but it's like a lot of work, right, to even get there. Versus this one, she just opened her mouth, talked to the people, and then they said yes. It was like super simple.
I think I'm the same. I need to find my map, but I think I'm exactly the same.
Okay, and then line 2 is recognition. So if you have a line 2, you have to be recognized, and you recognize yourself for everything that you've done. You know, how many of us successful high achievers, we do, but we forget to recognize that we've actually done that, right?
Yes, that's like when you go back and to your plan and you can actually tick off all these things and you didn't realize. Because sometimes I do to-do lists and then I don't get them done in a week, but then 2 weeks later, I actually find the original to-do list. I'm like, oh, I actually got all of this done, but or I have my assistant when I am like, oh, I feel stuck. And she's like, you've done all of this. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of don't see it. I need to have others reminding me of that.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So next is line 3. That is celebration. So I tell my clients, if this is your prosperity key, it doesn't really matter if you wanted a piece of chocolate, right? And maybe you're on a diet of some sort, and then you're like, you maybe close to $10,000 client or something, or it was a big event for 100,000 that you closed those sales. Well, hello, do some celebration because they're going to be there. They bought your program, so you've got to celebrate because it's about you refueling, right? To give them back that prosperity in a way, right? All right. Line 4 is charity. Now, this is interesting because if you think about it, if you have a different line, and let's say your husband has a different line, my husband happens to have charity. You know how sometimes when you don't quite match in your design, which usually you complement one another, right? Or you're two opposites, you're thinking, why is he giving that away?
Yes.
because that's how he makes his money back. That's how he's blessed. Does this make sense? So
yes.
Now charity begins at home. So I tell people with charity, because I notice they really give, and they forget to give back anything to themselves. It could be time, it could be money, it could be, again, some form of a celebration that they do for them to feel good. So charity begins at home. And if they're depleted, then they become bitter, just being so charitable, right? Okay, so balance is important. Okay, 2 more lines. So line 5 is power or leadership. So I happen to have that line. And guess what? When I go into a victim mode, which is opposite power, right? Money just goes out the door. It just leaks like a faucet. And I'm like, oh, yes, I got to be in charge of that. So when you take on a role and you don't pay attention to how you're showing up, and you're not quite empowered, or you're not leading the way, right, for my company, for my clients, and also empowering them, because when they see me, they do the same, right? I become their mirror. So power is another prosperity key. And last but not least, point 6 is nature.
Oh.
Nature gives us a reflection of abundance. So when people have money blocks, this is the first exercise I give them. I said, go walk outside, go find a tree, and count the number of leaves in that tree. I tell you, you're going to get lost. Sometimes when I started that exercise, right, because we have limiting beliefs, right, because it was a program that was given to us by family as we were growing up, right? They focus on lack rather than the abundance of what we have around us. So I would count the number of leaves, and then I would forget the number, right? And I forgot where I stopped. So then I go, yeah, I know there's so much. So then I started noticing the abundance of nature around me, the number of cars, the number of houses, the number of everything, right? There's so many, but we usually focus on what we don't have.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Unfortunately. So those are the 6 prosperity keys. And when you know yours, you stay in your lane, right? Don't try to copy somebody else.
Oh, this is so refreshing, because so many things don't work. And it's like, it's just, don't try to squeeze into that mold. Like, yes, the ad says it can work for everyone. You just take my blueprint, you can see my exact funnel. And it's like, oh, you might not need one. You might just need to do one single post. You might just need to one live. You might just need to write one article, be on one podcast, you know. So I only got to know human design last year, really. Like, I knew about it before, kind of, and last year we had for our mastermind, we had someone come in doing everyone's chart. And I'm fascinated by it, you know, and so and I love that you gave this really precise piece of advice to the audience, because now they can actually go, they can check up their chart, they can check their line. And there you go. That's your prosperity key. I mean, that's wonderful. I'm absolutely so grateful because you shared all of this information. That's just, I'm astounded.
Yeah, so I hope they go find their personality Jupiter, like I said, and live that every day if possible for the next 30 days, because that becomes a habit, right? So then you don't have to think about it. It just happens every day.
That's a great challenge. And so that's what you do with your clients, correct? They come to you, you read their design, and you tell them, or you suggest what they can do in order to open the gates, basically, correct?
Exactly. And I also read their energies. So then I tell them, okay, these are the blocks that you have. Let's release that now. And now you can focus on this, right? Because a lot of times I noticed in the past when I would clear them, when they go back home or whatever environment they're in, whatever relationship they're in, they're going back to the same habit and the same pattern. Why? Because that's familiar, right? It's almost scary to change. Really, it's like I remember when I would get these divine downloads. I was in Sedona and I heard God say, go ahead now, you can jump off the cliff. I'm like, what? Jump off the cliff? Like, where's the net? I was asking God for the safety net. I didn't see one. So I just heard, no, just go ahead and jump. I'm thinking, no, how can I leave my job? That's quite safe.
So not a literal cliff. Let's just make that clear. You didn't actually jump off a cliff.
Well, I kind of did when I left that job, right?
Yeah.
And I started my business without any kind of, it was trust, complete faith, right? I just said, well, God said, go do something else. So here I am now, doing something completely foreign to me. But that's what COVID really created for most people. Mm-hmm. We didn't know what was available to us, right? And the old tricks, unfortunately, they don't work anymore.
No.
We really have to reinvent ourselves and just start enjoying life, being happy and satisfied and peaceful and feeling successful inside first, not outside, right? The outside comes when the inside and the outside are aligned.
I agree. I really agree. This has been absolutely magical. And you also have a gift for our audience. And I'm just going to leave your website here where people can snatch that up. And then you can tell us a little bit more about it. So if you guys go to www.Vivian de Guzman, so DEGUZMAN.com, and then /free grounding video, you will get her free gift to all of you. We have the link as well in our show notes, of course, as well as Vivian's Facebook groups, as her page. So head over to christinemeansbusiness.com /blog, where you will find the show notes with all the links to click on. So you don't need to, try to listen to what I've been saying. But what exactly is the free grounding video and how can it help the listeners?
So remember, money is in the physical plane mostly, right? So free grounding video allows you to align your mind, body, soul, and spirit. So then you're connected to the divine universe or God, and you're in your body, really feeling what you're feeling and feeling balanced and grounding it to the earth. So that would make you feel so good in the morning. It's just a few minutes every day before you start your day. And I also suggest doing it by the end of the day to close your day, because one day is a lifetime.
Beautifully said. Yeah.
End it that day. And then all the clutter, you got to release that, because tomorrow is another brand new day for all of us.
Beautiful. I absolutely love it. Vivian, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. I'm absolutely grateful that you were so generous with your knowledge and shared all of this wisdom, like tangible wisdom for people to check out. I love that. So thank you so much. I'm so certain we'll see each other again soon. So thank you for being here today.
Yay. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Wonderful. And for the rest of you, we'll have a new episode in 2 weeks, as always. So make sure you stay tuned, tune back in, or listen to all the episodes that are already out there. There's I'm not entirely sure, but we're now at 40s. So there's enough to listen to. I'm really excited about what's coming up, but also what we've produced already. So go to christinemeansbusiness.com /blog, or subscribe if you are watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure to follow or subscribe. I'll be talking to you soon, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Talk soon, everyone. Bye-bye.